One Page Weekly with Nick Slavik. Two men in a trench. Data plus feelings. 81% of all aircraft lost in the Vietnam War were unaware of an attack or became aware too late to save themselves. In Australia, I was able to contribute to a day of strategy and vision casting with a group of servant leaders trying to change the painting industry there like we have in the US with the PCA. The day started with a US fighter pilot and Harvard Law alum who now lives in Australia, giving us an amazing and inspirational talk about his job. It made me want to re-enlist, sort of. Or just stand up and do something. He was seriously good. He regaled us with images and videos of his time in the military. Talked about leading humans, all the good stuff. But he said something so simple, a phrase I have said to myself and others a few times each day since then. Two men in a trench. He commanded a fighter jet, tens of $millions worth of tech, more buttons and displays than I can comprehend. But when he spoke about warfare, he said, but it still comes down to two men in a trench. To hear him say that was profound. We know that human-to-human contact in all things is what gets stuff done, adds meaning to our lives, and makes this entire life worth living. But some things just stick when you hear them, see them, and feel them in the right context. I've had so many virtual meetings with my Aussie brethren over the last year prepping for this trip. I've shared so many awesome messages via social media with contractors all across the world. But nothing replicates sitting in a chair next to them in a room doing the thing we love, being servant leaders. A few days later, I attended an Aussie rules football match with my friend, handler, and administrator of that group there. We could have watched it on television. We could have seen clips on TikTok, but we didn't. We took the day, walked miles to the stadium, pushed through the crowds. There were 90,000 humans in attendance that day, and we watched the match in person with the rest of humanity. It was a unique experience, one that could not be replicated via technology. Daniel Fuzz Walker, our fighter pilot speaker, walked us through a group war planning exercise. In our small group, we were given a set of planes, their capabilities, and a mission. He introduced variables that changed our plan, and we had a time constraint to plan this mission. What we did not talk about was the technology of the $1 billion worth of fighter jets and support assets during the process. We jockeyed back and forth about pros and cons of sequence and consequences. At two important points, major progress was made in planning this mission because somebody stood up, made the group decide something critical, then moved us to the next step of planning. The tech was a controlled variable. The difference was the humans, especially the leaders that emerged when necessary. I try not to overuse military terminology or hyperbolic phrases that relate to war, but I really like to say, two men in a trench. It's been a daily reminder to me that even with the advent of AI and online connectedness, real success will come from real human interaction, connectedness, and the management of all above, maybe with a little bit of augmentation from AI and tech. I once heard that the role of a leader is to inspire others to accomplish a shared mission, and that success is through the agency of others. I believe that to be true. And when the next generation of humans take leadership of my family, my business, and this industry, I'll be there to constantly remind them that despite all of this, it still comes down to two men in a trench. It did for me. This has been One Page Weekly with Nick Slavik.